tonight I'm making prosciutto lamb burgers. So I just love lamb and excited to try doing lamb burgers for the first time. I've had lamb burgers out to eat before, but I've never made them myself, although I'm doing mine a little bit differently. A lot of times when I'm out, I have lamb burgers with feta and mint, which is really delicious, but I'm doing mine a little bit different today, and I'm doing mine with prosciutto and sun-dried tomatoes and Parmesan. And hamburgers and lamb burgers, all kinds of burgers are a little bit messy and hands-on, so I'm going to pass this off to Dane so he can be my cameraman tonight. Alright, so we have some ground lamb here, just extra lean ground lamb. I took about a fourth of it out to make a hamburger for James that was dairy-free, egg-free, and all of that. So I put some basil and some parsley and some sun-dried tomatoes in his, and then I wrapped it in prosciutto, and he's eating that now. But since I'm putting egg in ours to hold it a little bit together more and put some more moisture in it, and I'm also doing Parmesan cheese in ours. James can't have any of that, so we're doing ours a little bit differently. Okay, so right here I have one egg that's just lightly scrambled with a fork, and I added some salt and pepper to that, and I was measuring the Parmesan over this, so there's a little bit of Parmesan already over in the egg because I was trying not to make a mess. But mostly it's just egg and a little bit of salt and pepper to taste. So maybe about half a teaspoon of each, or a fourth to half a teaspoon of each. Okay, so I'm also going to add maybe 1.5 to 2 teaspoons of basil. I had about 2 teaspoons of basil in here, and then I put some in James' burger, so there's less than 2 teaspoons. So I'm going to add that. And I have a couple tablespoons of dried chopped parsley. I also have a fourth a cup of chopped sun-dried tomatoes, which are delicious. I've made dishes before that had sun-dried tomatoes in it, and James just picked around them, but he saw me chopping them tonight and wanted to try one, and he loved it, and so he was just eating raw sun-dried tomatoes while I was doing the prep work, which is great. I'm so glad that he's liking the tomatoes. Okay, I also have half a cup of grated Parmesan cheese. So it'll give it a lot of nice saltiness. And some basil. And I'm going to mix this all together. Yum, yum, yum. Oh, that's looking so pretty. We can see the green from the herbs and the red from the tomatoes and kind of some yellow from the Parmesan. Awesome. So James didn't really need the extra moisture from the egg because we didn't put any any cheese in his, and grated Parmesan is a little bit dry compared to if you were going to mix in shredded Parmesan or something like that. So the egg is really helping hold that Parmesan together and moisten it. But just adding the sun-dried tomatoes to James' hamburger gave it some moisture too because it was packed in olive oil. Alright, so that's all mixed up. I actually have some extra virgin olive oil in our pan on the stove here already. I'm going to turn that up onto medium real quick so that can start heating up. Now I'm going to add the rest of our lamb. So it's about 3/4 the pound of lamb after I've made James' hamburger, maybe a little bit more. Alright, and I'm just going to mix this with my hands so that I don't over mix it. So real simple, just mix with your hands. I'm so excited about the sun-dried tomatoes in here. I think that'll be really delicious. Okay, since I got about a pound of ground lamb to start with, and I was planning on making 4 hamburgers, so about 1/4 pound apiece, and I already made one for James, so I'm going to form these into about 3 equal burgers. I'm just gonna kind of form a log here and pinch some off the side. So that's about 3. And I'll kind of pat these into some patties and see how we're doing to see if they're about the same size. They'll cook more evenly if they're about the same size. look pretty similar. Maybe this one's a little bit bigger. We'll put a little bit more in this one right here. Okay, so let's just say those are all about the same size, all about the 1/4 pound. I'm going to wrap these in prosciutto now. So we have just our slices of prosciutto, which you can get at a lot of grocery stores already done. Just gonna set that to the side and do this with all 3. Oops. So prosciutto is really nothing more than fancy bacon. If you haven't heard me talk about prosciutto before, I love it. It's sliced really thin. It's not as fatty as bacon, and it's more salty, but it doesn't have that smokiness that bacon tends to have. And I prefer the saltiness to the smoky flavor. All right, so these are all set, and those just look delicious, even though they haven't been cooked yet. So I'm gonna pick these up and bring them over here, where I can already tell our olive oil is getting plenty warmed up. And so I am going to cook these over medium heat in the olive oil in my saute pan for about 6 to 8 minutes per side until the prosciutto is nicely brown. So I'm going to go ahead and set our timer here for 6 minutes, and then I'm going to check it, and I might do it for a little bit more after that to 8. So 6 to 8 minutes on both sides, so maybe about 15 minutes total to cook the hamburgers, or the lamb burgers. And I'm going to rinse my hands real quick and use a little soap so that they're clean from the lamb. I feel like I'm washing my hands about every 5 minutes when I'm cooking, which is not a bad thing. Okay, so we're gonna let our lamb burgers go for a minute. Hey Patrick, hey Reagan. All right, hopefully I'll be able to let y'all try this sometime. I also made a mixture of sweet potato fries and regular French fries that I just baked in the oven so that James could have that to go with his hamburger, and I also gave him some vegan mac and cheese. But we're going to do some salads to go with ours. So if you're doing any kind of special diet for New Year's, if you're on low carb, or if you're on keto, then this recipe is also really great because the prosciutto is going to keep the lamb nice and moist, and that kind of acts as your bun. So this is like a bunless lamb burger that you can have with a nice salad. And this is keto friendly and gluten-free and low carb. All right, so I've got some salads here, a mixture of spinach and arugula. That's just what we had on hand. Arugula is kind of strong on its own, so I like to mix it with the spinach. But I'm also going to make some balsamic dressing to go with this. And I usually make my own salad dressing. I just prefer the fresh taste of store-bought dressing, and there's a lot less preservatives in it. You know exactly what's in it. It's sugar-free, soy-free, preservative-free, all those things. So, hi Grandpa. We'll have to make this for you definitely when you come down. Okay, so I'm not going to make a ton of dressing tonight. I usually just try to make enough for a day or two so that it won't go bad since there's no preservatives. But I have about 1/4 cup of extra virgin olive oil in here, and I'm going to add about 1/8 cup of balsamic vinegar. And I prefer to get organic olive oil and balsamic vinegar, especially for the balsamic vinegar and the Dijon mustard that I'm using. With those two, I find that the organic is healthier and has you don't see any like preservatives or the artificial coloring or added sugars that a lot of times you see in the non-organic versions. As long as you get a reputable olive oil and you know it has a good lot date and countries of origins, it doesn't necessarily have to be organic, but with the mustard and the balsamic, I think that's more important. So I have some organic Dijon mustard here. I'm going to add just a little bit, maybe about a teaspoon. Per cup of dressing, I usually like to do a couple of tablespoons. So maybe I'll do about a teaspoon since I'm just doing less than 1/2 cup, probably about 1/3 cup of dressing here. And then I'm going to add some salt and pepper to taste and just whisk this up with a fork. It's all grab. You can use a whisk or a fork, but since I'm using such a small amount tonight, I'm just going to grab a fork to whisk it with to make it uniform. All right. add some salt and pepper in a minute to that before we dress our salads. Since I usually grind those up fresh, it's easier to do with 2 hands. And not only will this be a great dressing for our salads, it'll also be a great sauce for the lamb burgers. Instead of using ketchup, the balsamic vinaigrette will go really nicely with the lamb and the prosciutto. So that's perfect, and it will serve a double purpose for tonight. Now I am so excited to try these. Once they're done, oh, it's smelling really good. There is about a minute and a half left. I set the timer for 2 minutes. Let me give y'all a peek. Okay, so that's looking really nice and crisp on the bottom. I'm going to let this go maybe another minute and then flip them over. We definitely want them to be cooked all the way through, in addition to being brown. And if for some reason you cut into the burger and it's not quite as done as you like, you can always pop it in the microwave for a minute, and that would finish cooking it without risking burning the prosciutto. So the last thing is that I have some freshly sliced tomatoes. These happen to be Roma tomatoes to top off our burgers with. I wish I had some fresh basil for a garnish too, but the store was all out when I was there today, and I used up all my fresh basil a couple weeks ago with a different recipe. Since it's not the summertime, well, I would also recommend turning on your fan if you're cooking with meat and olive oil. Sometimes if you're cooking, the smoke point will get kind of high and it gets a little smoky, and you might get the fire alarm to go off. So I just turned the fan on to our range. This is always a good idea. I was worried it would be too loud over the video, so I didn't, but I would definitely recommend that doing it at home. Sometimes cooking with prosciutto or meat, the cooking time is less, and so I don't risk turning the alarm on with the smoke, but the burgers need a little bit more time to cook, and plus they're a little bit fattier than when I usually cook with chicken. Oh, I'm sure, Katie, it happens to us all, doesn't it? Well, y'all take care. I'm going to post some pictures at the end of the finished product and the burgers, and I can't wait to tell you how they turn out. And remember, you can also follow my videos now on my YouTube channel, Cooking with Jo. Y'all have a great evening.